and by the Johnson & Johnson family of companies, supplying healthcare products worldwide.
Next on Nova, Voyager 2 lifted off in 1977, destined for an unprecedented encounter with the planet Uranus. Sometime in its ancient past, this mysterious planet was tilted by unknown forces, so that Uranus spins sideways to the sun. Join us as the Voyager mission uncovers the mysteries of Uranus, the planet that got knocked on its side. That's next time on Nova.
Broadcast of this program on Channel 10 is made possible by a grant from Work Clothes Rental Service, underwriting partner for Nova.
We in America pride ourselves in a land that has given much. Here is true wealth.
But it's coming down to survival first and taking care of the land second.
We're wasting soil and wasting people at a catastrophic rate.
Find out what is happening to the land and to those who farm it. Watch the next Smithsonian World Special.
Here's Wednesday, June the 10th at 8 p.m. on TV 10.
Hello, I'm Peter Ustinov. Join me on this PBS station as we learn about the life of Ludwig van Beethoven and enjoy his music.
Join us for a special look at the life of Beethoven on this special, airing Wednesday, June the 10th at 9 p.m.
See the poor Goonie bird, saddled with that silly name when it's really the Laysan albatross, one of the most majestic seabirds. Majestic in flight, that is. On the ground, it's a different story, once it gets to the ground. You see, Goonies, like most birds of a feather, flock together. But this flock numbers more than 1 million. And that's a lot of Goonies. Goonies courting, Goonies nesting, Goonies raising Goonie chicks, Goonies as far as the eye can see. And it's not easy to move a Goonie, as any golfer on the atoll of Midway can tell you. But that's exactly what the U.S. Navy has to do, because Midway is more than home to 1/3 of the world's Goonies. It's also a strategic base, complete with airfield, which the Goonies and the Navy have learned to share. It's everything you've always wanted to know about the Goonies of Midway, in a new film from cinematographer Wolfgang Bayer, next time on Nature.
Don't miss this episode of Nature, airing Sunday, June the 14th at 8 p.m. KLVX, Las Vegas, Nevada. Portions of the following program on KLVX contain material some viewers might find objectionable. Channel 10 does not recommend it for the very young or the immature.
Funding for Frontline is provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Tonight on Frontline, a girl from Minnesota becomes a star of porn films.
She enjoyed the recognition. She enjoyed the money.
An 18-year-old innocent looking for adventure and finding a world of money, drugs, and sex in front of cameras.
Colleen Applegate did not like doing sex on film, period.
She chose to do it. She could have stopped.
A young life ends with a gunshot and questions. Tonight, death of a porn queen.
From the network of public television stations, a presentation of KCTS Seattle, WNET New York, WPBT Miami, WTBS Detroit, and WGBH Boston. This is Frontline with Judy Woodruff.
Good evening. This is the story of an ordinary young woman who wandered into a strange world and died. It's also about dreams, values, choices, families and children, and drugs. And it's about pornography. Not pornography's effect on those who see or hear it, but about some of the people who work in that industry and its effect on them. The program contains some partial nudity and graphic scenes and language which may offend some viewers. It is not suitable for viewing by children. We recommend parental discretion. The program is called Death of a Porn Queen, produced for Frontline by Andy Greenspan, directed by Paul Henschel, and reported by Al Austin of WCCO-TV in Minneapolis.
This is where the story ends. Palm Springs, California. Early in the evening, March 21st, 1984. A young woman lay thrashing on her bed with a bullet wound through her temple. A rifle lay beside her.
I went over to her, and she was laying, there was like 2 mattresses pushed together on the bed, and there was like a crease, and there was a blood going all the way down the crease, but you couldn't see any blood on her. And,
her condition was hopeless. She was comatose, and she was going to die.
Hey, Elmer, could I have the gun on the Applegate shooting, please? Okay. This is the weapon that was found at her side.
How do you think she shot herself?
She would have been laying down on the bed with the gun on the bed or propped on her arm, possibly with her thumb or other finger to the gun, and the bullet would have passed through her head and into the wall where we found it.
She was known as Shauna Grant, a star of X-rated films. Her real name was Colleen. Colleen Applegate, from Farmington, Minnesota. She left home when she was 18. When she died, she was 20. Colleen lived here for a while, an apartment house near Hollywood. In the spring of 1983, a few months before her death, she suddenly moved out.
I wonder if she left anything here.
Yeah, I have some things that I was to send to her mother, but I never did. You're welcome to them.
Activities.
Pictures and terrible books. Just a lot of pictures.
What's this one?
She was very pretty, very pretty.
That's a beautiful picture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that what she looked like?
Yeah. Yeah, her hair is long, but a little bit longer than shoulder length, blonde, like strawberry blonde, very pretty. And these are just, you know, I guess her high school things.
Diploma?
Yeah. Diploma. Letters, school letters. I guess they're for cheerleading.
High school diploma, old snapshots, and Valentines, her confirmation certificate from the Catholic Church, and a copy of Hustler magazine with her picture on the cover. These are like the belongings of two people, as though Shauna Grant had kept Colleen Applegate's things, dragged them with her from place to place, and finally left them behind. When did one person become the other? How does an ordinary small-town girl like Colleen become a Hollywood porn queen? And then what happened to her? She shot herself But why? How did she get so far from home?
She was an everyday girl, just like everybody else. She was in cheerleading, I was in cheerleading.
Teresa Sickinator was one of Colleen's closest friends from the 6th grade on.
She always appeared happier than she was. I remember that she's so unpredictable. You never really knew what she was thinking. You never knew what she was going to do next unless she shared it with you.
Colleen was more private or more inside of herself, I think, than our other kids have been.
Colleen Applegate's parents, Phil and Karen, still live in southern Minnesota. Recently, they divorced.
I was very strict with Colleen. To me, right's right and wrong's wrong, and still is. But as long as it doesn't go too wrong, they're going to do what they want to do anyway.
I maybe tried to run the house, or I tried to run a house like you do a business, and really that isn't a good way to run a house sometimes. And maybe I come off that way. But I learned over the years too. But I think when she was going to high school, when she was in here, I expected certain things. I realized I was a tough father. I wasn't an easy father, and I don't know whether that was a mistake or not, because I was just as tough on the other kids too.
She was the oldest of 5, but there was nothing strange or abnormal about her childhood. It was a very average childhood. She loved to read. She used to write poems. She wasn't much of a house cleaner, but she loved to cook. Our relationship with Colleen was fine until her junior and senior year. Then we had a lot of arguments.
At about that time, she began to date a boy named Mike Marcel, who was 2 years older.
She started liking boys, showing it, and she knew that she could get almost anyone she wanted to. I think that's when she really started liking boys.
Is this our graduation year? Colleen? Yeah, because it's 81.
81.
Yeah, okay, this is the year we graduated. And she wrote on the back page, Brenda, it's been a long time, hasn't it? Like
2 of Colleen's oldest friends live now in Southern California, Brenda Rosenau and Colleen Hayer. They grew up with her. Both went to California at about the same time she did and stayed in touch with her to the
no
end.
matter how far we are apart, we'll always be close at heart. And we'll always keep in touch, even if one of us ends up in dumbfoot Egypt. But anyway, I think I've used up enough space. Be good, Brenda. Keep smiling and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Love, Lena. God, it's been a long time since I read that.
I think she was a little bit different. You know, she had different ideas, I think, than everybody else. She had these dreams of what she wanted to do, and she wanted to be a model, and back then we didn't really have set dreams or goals, and she did.
It was a small town, you know, a population of, what was there, 4,800 people at the time or
Less
something.
now, yeah, it was even less then. It's
And everybody knew what you were doing before you did it, and there was never really anything to do.
So they could bored everybody.
Yeah.
Colleen stayed in Farmington a while after high school, working first as a cashier, then as an employee of the telephone company. There, one night in December, she swallowed a bottle of pills. She was rushed to the hospital.
We took her to the emergency, and they pumped her stomach. It was basically that it wasn't so much that she wanted to kill herself as it was that she wanted some attention. And she thought that was a way of getting it.
Did you and Colleen ever talk about it?
No, to be honest, no, I don't think we did. I don't think we really sat down and talked about it. We went to the counselor with her as a family.
And then they had one group session, and with the whole family. And I was in, all of us were in there, and they tried to get us to talk. And of course, we're all sitting there looking at each other, nobody's saying much. And I was very angry because I still don't feel she took that because of physical, although maybe that was the beginning sign and I didn't know it, of a problem. I thought she did it for attention. After she took the pills, living in a small town can really be the pit sometimes. A lot of people were talking about it, and a lot of people were on her case. She wanted to get out of here.
Colleen and her boyfriend, Mike Marcel, headed west.
Why do you think she went to California? To be somebody?
Los Angeles that first spring was no more fertile ground for Colleen's vague ambitions than Farmington, Minnesota had been.
All I know was that I had talked to her a couple of times and neither one of them were having very good luck finding a job. And Mike was getting real upset and he wanted her to find a job because he couldn't get a job. And he found, from what she told me, he's the one that found the ad for modeling.
It was just in the newspaper.
Yeah.
It's 2 girls, 1 guy, simulation. Yeah. There's no colored guys. Hello? Okay, he needs you at 10 a.m. Friday.
This is the man Colleen went to see in the spring of 1982.
Got a pencil?
His name is Jim South.
And can you write this early in the morning?
He runs an agency called World Modeling.
What we do is that we're licensed to get you work with professional photographers. The majority of the work that we get is nude photographic modeling. The pay does run from $100 a day up to $1,500 a day, depending on who's shooting you. Now, the 2 different type shootings we have single girl, you modeling alone, like you see in Penthouse. We also have simulation, you lucky devil.
A documentary crew led by Wendy Apple shot these scenes of South as he interviewed a new model named Kim.
You are touching. You do look like you're doing something, but you're not.
Jim South is indeed an agent.
Apple was making a film entitled Fallen Angels.
And he is absolutely the medium, the way in which girls who know nothing about Hollywood or movies or pornography come into the porno industry. They have to pass through him. They don't have to, but that's the way his business is set up.
Give me a shot of you standing close to the stool with your right foot on the bottom ledge.
He said that he can get new girls work very fast. There's always a job for a new girl.
Right over there, taking a Polaroid. Okay, thank you. All right, now twist a little bit more around.
South showed his Polaroids of Colleen Applegate to Penthouse photographer Steve Hicks.
Up, down, up, down. Okay, that's fine. I'd like to shoot some more of that, but I want to move that cactus out because it's got no meaning in the picture. I don't equate what I do with X-rated films whatsoever. Push it 1 foot to the left and it'll be out. I mean, what I do is I photograph women and attempt to create beauty out of their bodies. Stand and let me see you just start to bring your jeans down a little bit. Just slowly. Keep going, I'll tell you when to stop. Colleen was a beautiful girl, and I think very unaware of it. You know, she was the type of girl that when she walked in, she looked in many ways like she just came right off the farm. But in makeup, she was a very beautiful girl, and she really took to modeling quickly. You know, it's unfortunate that Mother Nature put 18-year-old girls on this planet with beautiful bodies. Because, you know, the mind of a typical 18-year-old girl is not prepared to make the right decisions in this town with these opportunities. Hey, Stephanie, I need you to grab those jeans. I need you to stretch. That's great, that's great.
Hicks advised Colleen to get out of nude modeling quickly because it leads downhill. After all the magazines have used her, the only thing left is X-rated movies.
I see completely different colors, I can't tell.
She ignored the advice and soon was posing for raunchier magazines.
and she invited us up, so we went to her house for the weekend. And that's when
the
we
first time
found
we
out.
saw the pictures and all that.
What sort of pictures were they?
Shocking pictures.
We didn't expect.
We didn't know. You know, when she said modeling, and then she finally told us it was nude. Well, you think of maybe like Playboy, you know, and then the pictures we saw though were like from
more hardcore
yeah,
type pictures.
Erotica and what is that other magazine? Velvet, stuff like that. And then she just had the Polaroids, the instant pictures of her and some guys. They were pretty. We both, you know, she pulled them out, started showing them to us, and we just looked at each other. You know, our mouths were like down to our knees.
She'd been kind of covering up.
She didn't come right out and say, well, I was doing this with this guy and I did this with this girl, and you could tell she felt bad because she wouldn't tell us the whole story, you know. And then it even went so far as her trying to convince us to do it with her.
So it wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah.
What would she say to do that?
She had appointments set up with her manager
for us to meet her,
to go in and the whole bit, and we were just like, well, I don't think so.
It's easy.
She said, well, just go talk to him, you know, see, it's good money, you know, you can just do it like on the weekends, come out here, and you don't have to take your clothes off if you don't want to, and...
Which, you know, seeing the pictures, you knew you would have to take your clothes off.
How important do you think it was to Colleen that you approve of what she was doing?
I think it was really
very,
important.
very important to her.
Because I think she knew that nobody that was in her life before did approve.
You know, you take a typical girl that's used to working at McDonald's or in a shoe store making a minimum wage, and suddenly she's given the opportunity to get made up and be in front of people that tell her she's beautiful and make as much money in a day as she was making in 3 weeks. And they change. They change. And that's sad.
Mike Marcel, Colleen's boyfriend, soon left her and returned to Minnesota, where he spread the news that Colleen was involved in pornography. Marcel won't discuss it now. He says he just doesn't care about her. The Applegates heard the stories about their daughter and flew at once to Los Angeles.
We knew that she was working through this world model agency. So we went up to the offices up there and saw Jim South and saw what was going on. We asked if Colleen worked for him, and he said yes, and then he said, well, she's right in here, and he threw this book at us, and he opened it up, and there was nude photographs of Colleen among other girls, and I guess you could come in and pick who you wanted to model for you, and that's how they... And we said, how can you let an 18-year-old girl involved in this? Well, she's 18 and she's of age and consent and blah, blah, blah.
They wanted her to come home, and they were like ordering her, you know, giving her no choice, which I think was a mistake because she didn't listen to them in high school. Why would she listen now?
Did that cause a rift between you?
Yes, I didn't hear from her for, it doesn't seem like eternity, but it was probably 2 months. Didn't hear a word, and I didn't know where to call her. I mean, we left there, and then all the way home I kept saying, why did we do that? We could have, you know, found out where she was living, found some, I didn't know how to find her.
Okay, I'm at 4523 Van Nuys Boulevard. Now, it is a small office building. It's Suite 203.
By this time, Colleen had posed for almost every men's magazine.
Could you come in tomorrow? Well, what's convenient for you?
Producer Wendy Apple happened to be filming in Jim South's office when Colleen dropped in.
1:30, that's when I get back from lunch. Okay, have a good time, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Okay. Well, you and I are going to undress, and we're going You don't have enough money, just be nice.
Who doesn't have enough money? You don't have enough money.
We're modeling. Okay, what's the name of the paper, please? You saw the ad in.
Colleen was in South's office again when an adult film director named Bobby Hollander came in, looking for actresses for his next film.
Licensed bonded agency.
And I wanted to use new girls who were just making the turnover. I didn't want to use a first-timer. And Colleen had done a piece prior to Paper Dolls, just one. We sat and talked, and she was wearing jeans, no shoes, and a sweatshirt, and sitting on a tabletop. And I just got good vibes from her, and she received good vibes from me. And I said, this is going to be easy. It's all a matter of dollars and cents now. She said, well, I don't know about that. I said, well, what you don't know about, don't be ashamed to ask me. Because I like you. I don't want to take you to bed. Let's be friends. And in this business, she felt, wow, there's somebody that doesn't, want to grab me. I've been in this a while. Those days they're past me already. You don't have to sleep with anyone to get in the film. You have to sleep with them on the film. Shauna, how old are you?
I'll be 20 in a week.
You'll be 20 in a week?
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to be 19.
No, I am 19. I'll be 20.
And how long have you been a paper doll?
Paper doll?
A model, a cover girl, a centerfold?
About 2 months.
2 months?
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody twist your arm to get into the business?
No, not at all. It was all my idea.
Really?
Uh-huh.
What color
This is a scene from that first film Colleen did with Bobby Hollander.
I can't see.
He renamed her Shauna Graham.
Oh, yeah.
She was not 19, but 18 at the time.
Are you still a virgin?
No. Are you kidding?
How old were you when you lost your virginity?
Almost 17.
Almost 17. You almost lost it, or you did lose it when you were
I did lose it when I was almost 17.
I said to her, you have the capability of being a star, an overnight sensation. Because one day, and it's going to happen fast, once they put a little makeup on you, put some high heels on your feet and stockings and a garter belt, like they do in the picture layouts, the public's going to fall in love with you.
Bobby could talk a nun into doing a porno movie.
Laurie Smith is a veteran adult film actress and makeup artist. She became Colleen's closest friend. After Colleen died, Laurie gave up acting and moved away from Los Angeles.
I always look like such an elegant lady on film, and I'm still like a little kid. I'm a little tomboy in my real life, and I never changed from the day I came from Huntington Beach. I'm still a little beach bum girl.
I love it when you touch me there.
When I touch you where, Chuck?
But on movies, I was give me a whip and put some makeup on me, and I could say lick my boot to anybody.
Is there anything else you'd like?
Laurie transformed Colleen.
When I first met her, she was frumpy, schoolgirlish, wore funny clothes. I thought they were funny clothes. I called them funny clothes. And plain, and didn't know about makeup, never really wore makeup. And just kind of, like this kind of a person. Production still, here we go. Oh, you want me to go? Let's see a pose. Then, after I was finished with her, her shoulders were back, and her back was arched, and her chin was up, and she'd flip her hair around, and she became sexy. She became Shauna Grant.
She looked like peaches and cream, nude. Naked peaches and cream. And that was that Minnesota upbringing.
This is the farthest I've been away from home, on my own.
That's crazy.
I haven't been anywhere.
She got her little act down, like, little girl from Minnesota. And, it's up till the very end, she used to say that, like, I wonder how many more years I'm going to get away with this Minnesota act.
We would tell her, well, if you want to get out,
choice, really.
you can come stay with us. We'll find you a job. Letting her know that that wasn't the only thing that there was for her. We couldn't tell her what to do. She was happy doing what she was doing. We were her friends. All we could do is back her up.
Well, when you invited her to come live with you and to get a good job, what did she say?
She always told me, well, what could I do? She goes, I can't do anything. I can't type. I can't do this. I can't do that. She always was
not really putting forth the effort.
Yeah.
Making up excuses. Well, I can't right now. I have this coming up. It pays real good. And see, that's just it. Nothing that she could do would compare to the money that she was making. And I think that was a big issue.
Before I blast off my mouth and go any further, let me introduce you to one of the stars in the business, Miss Shauna Grant. Hi, love.
How you doing? Thanks for the intro. Bobby told you that you can write to me, and I would love it if you wrote to me. I will send you a picture, and I will autograph it.
I thought she was adorable. I thought she was cute. And I took a liking to her. I wanted to see it happen where she got what she deserved, where she wasn't abused.
Any mind tricks she used to get through those sex scenes?
No, we just get high. We always got high before we did it.
Colleen had begun to use cocaine. She returned to Minnesota for a visit in the fall. Her friend Teresa met her at the Twin Cities airport.
She got off the plane and she wasn't really Colleen, the Colleen that I knew. She seemed very uppity, you know, a little jumpy. She was a little anxious. And first thing she wanted to do was go into the bathroom and, you know, get a snort of coke.
Her eyes looked wild. She wore a lot of makeup. And her hair, she always was very fussy about her hair. But it was just brushed. It wasn't really fixed. She just looked hard. She just didn't look herself at all.
The subject of drugs, I guess I brought the subject up. I said, I hope you're not involved and stay away from all this cocaine and things like that. I said, you really don't need that. And she says, oh, you don't have to worry, Dad. She says, I go to parties where that's at, but I don't do that. And because I'm a parent, and and because it's my child, I guess I wanted to believe her.
I just didn't like what she was doing. She was flaunting her portfolio or whatever. And the pictures she showed me in the portfolio weren't nude pictures, but they were very flattering pictures, but she hardly had anything on. And she wanted to give me one. She wanted me to pick one out, and she'd give it to me. I told her I didn't want any of those pictures.
Magazines with Colleen's nude pictures had reached the stores in Farmington. In the high school, Colleen's younger sister found one of those pictures taped to her locker. Colleen had become not a celebrity, but an embarrassment.
She went back to go to a friend's wedding that was one of the girls that hung around with us. And she was kind of worried, and the things they were saying, and the girl's mother wouldn't even let her in. She wouldn't let her in the church. They didn't want her around.
3P.
That sounds great.
Despite appearances, this is serious business. The Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Twice a year, these exhibitions give the porn industry a chance to show off its new films and its stars to the nation's videotape dealers.
Triple X kisses. Triple X. For your office wall? Sure. What are the clients going to say?
Great, thank you much.
Hiya. How you doing?
Americans rented 100 million X-rated video cassettes last year. Most of the companies that produce them are represented here. They have a pool of 400 actors and actresses who are willing to have sex on camera.
And the winner is Blame It on Jim.
The X-rated performers have their own version of the Academy Awards.
What is this for?
Best shot on video sex scene. I'm not quite sure which one it is, though. Which scene? Well, the film is nominated. It's up for Best Specialty Film.
Bizarre Encounters.
Bizarre Encounters. It's, oh, you describe it, dear. How would you describe Bizarre Encounters?
It is the world's first how-to instructional black comedy, hardcore bondage and discipline tape.
And if you think I was hot in 86, watch Brady's Gonna.
21-year-old Barbara Dare is voted Best New Performer.
I went home and one day a girlfriend of mine that I've had for a long time was acting different. And I said, why? Because of what I'm doing? And I just told them, I said, when I come, point blank, I said, when I come back here in a couple years and I've over $100,000 to do what I want with and open up a business, and you shits are still doing the same thing and sitting in this bar doing nothing, I said, then you'll talk.
Jeanette Littledove is another newcomer to adult movies. She's 19 from Oklahoma.
It just messes with your mind. It's addictive. You can't quit. Once you get a hold of the money and you know it's there and it's easy to get to, you don't want to quit.
Where's the,
just push that. It automatically focus.
Joey, hurry up.
Joey. Jerry, let me get this picture.
In 1983, Colleen Applegate attended one of these shows as the porn industry's new star. She had been unwelcome at a friend's wedding in her hometown, but here, people lined up to have their picture taken with her.
She had a line of a minimum of 40 people at a time. She saw the recognition.
And she liked it?
Yeah. She became Shauna Grant.
At that show?
Yeah. She became Shauna Grant. But Shauna Grant always was Colleen Applegate. I don't know which scared her more.
She was a little girl. She needed to be supported, you know, needed to be told that everything was okay and that, you know, there were people there with her.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Oh, we got both of them in there. Lucky me.
I didn't even like it the real thing.
Danielle Martin and Colleen began their X-rated acting careers at about the same time.
Okie dokie.
Something dirty.
We met on a film, Summer Camp Girls. She was like really nice, and we just like started hanging out, you know, best friends, you know, very close.
Okay, John, you're next, huh?
You know, I will always make it on my own, and I know that, even if everyone dumps me. But she couldn't, you know, she was holding on, she was frightened to make her own decisions or what to do or anything like that.
Is your sound okay in there now?
Do you have a slate?
Okay, fine. Slating centerfold celebrities, Shauna and Jamie, take one.
Why would you want me to lay down?
Well, just so you could be comfortable, you know, I don't want you to strain.
Bobby Hollander directed Colleen in a series of hardcore tapes that required only a day or two each to shoot.
Oh, yeah? You're going to get aside?
Bobby is an okay person to work for. He's not a pushy, mean, doesn't make you feel, I mean, you may look cheap in the movie, but while you're doing it, he makes you feel like a little queen, you know. During the time, you feel like you're doing Gone with the Wind. So it's like one of the things, it's not hard for Bobby. It didn't talk her into it. She wanted to do it.
Shauna was a talent. She was a star. There are stars in the business. Shauna Grant made herself a star in a short period of time. The quickest I've ever seen.
Colleen's movies and modeling paid her almost $100,000 in 1 year. She spent most of the money on cocaine.
And she needed it like you feel like you need it. You know, it's a security blanket. I mean, we just like to do it. We did a lot, though. She and I mean, in that 1 year, in a year and a half, actually, that I really hung around with her a lot. Because we'd always go in on it together, and we always would buy a lot.
I may have done cocaine with both of them, but on selling either one, I wasn't selling cocaine. I was a user.
Did you give Colleen cocaine?
I think I gave Colleen as much cocaine as she gave me.
It was the perfect thing to have. You could go smoke a joint, unwind from the first scene, and then right before you go on, you take a toot.
So now, Shauna
is going to...
These are outtakes from a movie Laurie and Colleen did with Bobby Hollander.
She's going to dust off the fucking screen.
Okay!
So you don't miss anything. All right, don't get rid of me.
I just, every time I go, I mean,
Talking to you.
once I saw Bobby start freebasing, that was the last time I worked for Bobby. It's the last time I would ever work for him, and I was really pissed off.
Would you watch? You know, you don't know. No, you ain't listening to shit.
We are listening to everything. You walk away.
I know exactly. I'm listening.
I don't want you to say anything. I want you to listen to me.
Okay, Bobby.
Lori, deep inhale.
I know, but let's get to...
Doesn't that... Okay, do you see what you're saying this? You can read
I
it
know
right from the
exactly
script.
how you want it. He just was crazy. He couldn't make up his mind what he wanted to do. He had this script that he'd written probably when he was on his third day of wake, but it was so sadistically disgusting.
We're taking this, instead of the stills that we did...
And I just said, Colleen, forget it. Just forget Bobby. Go off on your own. You got your name now. You're big enough where you can do it on your own.
No, not Pope.
You didn't tell me I was...
I told you I am... Yes, we are
Now you
shooting.
did.
We are shooting. We are rolling. We are rolling. Debbie's in there getting makeup on now.
Bobby Hollander is on probation for cocaine possession. Each weekend, he must clean up highways for the California Transportation Department.
I've been here 16 or 17 days working with this crew. Some of the finest guys in the highway and freeway business.
Colleen was making as much as $1,700 a day when sex scenes were shot.
She hated it. She hated it. She just laid there and just let it happen. Colleen Applegate did not like doing sex on film, period.
And she just was so overwhelming because I knew the girl did not want to be there. It was just so, shame, it's so shameful.
Jerry Butler, one of Colleen's co-stars, believed she did not belong in adult films, but others kept encouraging her.
Everybody said it was okay. Hey, put this skirt on. You look like a million, Colleen. Oh, you look great. I mean, Shawnee, you look fabulous. Oh, great. Take the picture. Oh, terrific. Oh, this is great. Oh, great sex scene. Oh, terrific. These are the people that are still alive. These are the people that made money and still making money off this poor little girl, getting to think that that's all she needed in life.
She enjoyed the recognition. She enjoyed the money. There's no question about that.
Okay, but she was an aimless girl. She was vulnerable. Don't you think that life is harmful to a person like that?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
It's a loaded question. I think anyone who is in Colleen's age group, they're all in the same situation.
Okay.
She chose to do it. She could have stopped and made less money and just did being a photographer's model. But I personally think she enjoyed doing it. Colleen was an exhibitionist.
Okay, maybe
Colleen was two different people on camera and off camera. Two different people, Jekyll and Hyde, completely.
It was her choice, but wouldn't it have been better for her to stop?
Well, talking about it today, yes, it would have been better.
Will you tell somebody to bring my bathrobe in here? I forgot to bring it in.
Okay, well, I'll look at...
In that 1 year, Colleen performed in 30 X-rated movies.
Oh.
She had an abortion. She contracted herpes. She performed sex on camera with 37 men.
Super.
The thing I notice mostly about is how quiet it is here now. There used to be noise. There used to be life here.
Jake Ehrlich is a former cocaine dealer. He returned to his home in Palm Springs, California this winter after almost 3 years in prison.
It was just an empty feeling, as if I left, last week and coming back to absolutely zero. Basically how our bedroom was set up. We just keep a stereo over there. And there's a patch there that bothers me. That's the patch the police pulled out. They made a patch and someone tried to patch it up, and it bothers me to sleep next to it.
What do you mean?
That's the bullet went through. The bullet went through her head. I don't know how she was lying, how she was even shot. See, I never even knew. But the bullet went through her head, and it's the wall. And some of her clothing is still here, not much, but I find a piece here and a piece there.
Jake met Colleen in the spring of 1983, after he saw pictures of her in Penthouse magazine.
I opened it up and I saw the section she was in. I said, this girl is gorgeous. This girl is for me. Bobby Hollander's her agent, and he'll come around.
He learned that Colleen's manager was Bobby Hollander, one of his cocaine customers.
And he brought her over, and this little girl with like this washed hair, you know, curling up, and a little Gumby t-shirt, and a pair of jeans. And I says, no, this could be the girl. This girl looks 14, 15, 16 years old. But it was her, you know, not what I expected, not the fantasy. It wasn't the fantasy from the magazine. She came here and she never left.
She just stayed.
She stayed. She found home.
And she quit doing pornography.
She just stopped dead. She was very happy in the very beginning. Very exuberant, happy person. She'd call up everyone. I'm in love. I love Jake. You know, people would tell me, Jake, this girl really loves you. And she started building up. She would call home for recipes to her parents. I'm not in the business no more, and give me the recipe for that. I'm cooking for Jake.
Sometimes late at night, with the stereo on, Colleen tape-recorded her thoughts.
You amaze me, Jake. Here I am, 20 years old, and in love with a man twice my age. You let me be Colleen, and you don't expect me to be anybody else. You respect me, and you care about me, and you at least like me.
She was basically happy living here. She was safe from the outside world.
Colleen stopped making adult films, but the people she'd met in that business often came to visit her at Jake's.
There was always drugs around. It was like a non-stop party.
Her friend Teresa came from Minnesota to see her once.
Had people coming over. Well, I remember a bad experience at one of these parties that I was offered something I thought was a joint, and it was something called Jerry Lewis's Kids. It made you feel retarded. And that was the point that I decided I shouldn't be there. It scared the heck out of me. I believe Colleen was dependent on Jake for her habit, her drug habit, and because she had a beautiful house. She was very dependent on people.
We just started drifting a little bit apart, you know. I couldn't supply her with the amount of attention she needed. She would follow me from one room to another. It's just something I couldn't take, you know. I just couldn't take it. So I just constantly push her off.
Jake didn't know it, but Colleen had become involved with a college student during a trip back to Minnesota. He doesn't want to be identified.
She just seemed like someone who had made a mistake, and she didn't want to be doing it anymore, according to her. And I mean, she was friendly and intelligent and pretty and fun to be with. We had a great time.
Now, she told me that she was going to marry him, and I don't know if they'd actually talked about that. But in her heart, that was her dream, to marry him. To come back, go to school, be a regular college student, use her mind, because she had a good mind, and marry him.
And yet Colleen stayed with Jake, and her cocaine addiction worsened.
It's hard for a cocaine dealer to control someone that's close to you, especially if you're selling it. How can you say, you shouldn't do it, it's no good for you, meanwhile I'm doing it myself, and I'm selling it?
She got real thin, she was real pale, she wasn't eating, she just looked sick, you know, and I would always ask her, I would say, why do you keep doing it? Why don't you just stop for a while, you know? And she's like, oh, I'm okay, I don't do it that much, you know, and I say, well, look at you, you're 90 pounds.
Jake urged her to get psychiatric help. She refused. And one night he told her she'd have to move out.
She said, if that's the end, I'll show you. She runs in my bedroom, and I hear her pick up my rifle and go click, click, and I run in there real fast. I didn't take her serious. I figured she just wants attention. She wants something. I ran in there quick enough that she had the rifle cocked. And
she hadn't pulled the trigger?
No, no.
She cocked the rifle?
She cocked it.
And it was loaded?
It was loaded. I kept the rifle. It's a .22 rifle, the same rifle she took a life with. But I didn't take her serious. You know, I think she just wants attention. She's mad, and, you know, and I couldn't handle the situation either. And you know, we sat down in the bed, we talked, and I says, all right, you don't have to move. You'll stay here, and when you're ready, you'll move, you know. I was scared.
A few days later, in February 1984, police arrested Jake for drug dealing. He was taken to jail and faced several years in prison.
The Adult Film Association of America proudly presents the 8th Annual Erotic Film Awards. Adult movies have come of age.
Colleen had not made a hardcore film in the 10 months she lived in Palm Springs. But 3 of her earlier performances were nominated for awards.
Shauna Grant for Flesh and Laces Parts 1 and 2.
Marie, it was $100 an hour.
Are you worth that?
Of course I'm worth that. You asked for a top model, you're going to get it.
Mr. John Leslie and Miss Shauna Grant.
She didn't win, but it must have been an exciting evening for Colleen. Francis Ford Coppola was seated at the same table.
Best art and sex decoration are...
Eddie Heath for The Devil and Miss Jones, Part 2.
I'm gonna have trouble with this one, so it'll take a while to say it.
Colleen found she was still very much in demand. That night, she agreed to make another adult film and was to begin shooting it in 8 days. It was 7 days before her death.
Superstar.
A few days after the awards show, Colleen's Minnesota boyfriend arrived in Los Angeles to see her. She never showed up at the airport.
Oh, there's a mix-up, the fact that Colleen just totally disregarded the fact he was flying in and forgot. She forgot he was coming in. She'd made plans for like 2 months to have him come out from Minnesota, and he finally got the time to come out, and she knew about it for 2 weeks. She knew, but then when it came down to that day, we'd gone to the awards and we got wasted, and then we were hanging out at my house. We slept for 2 days. And we didn't know how we were going to get there because we didn't have a car. So we had to figure out a way to get there, and that's what she was doing all that day, is figuring out a way to get there, and that's when Jake called and all the shit came down.
Jake phoned Colleen from jail, told her their relationship was over. She would have to move out.
I got the seed planted. My boyfriend's coming in town. She didn't pay none of the bills. She sort of destroyed the $2,000 of mostly drugs and limousines and partying. All these things are built in my head, and I'm saying, hey, man, stop her, now.
Colleen called her friend Brenda and asked her to come over and keep her company while she packed.
And she was like real depressed, and she wasn't talking much. She was just kind of sitting around. She was, you know, you could tell she wasn't happy at all.
She had run out of money and cocaine. In 2 days, she'd be performing sex on camera again. Now she had to pack and get out.
And the stereo was on, and she went back into her bedroom.
I remember the first time I really, really was lonely and depressed and down, and I wasn't doing so hot. I was stuck and had no one to depend on but me. That was the first time I really felt bad. And that was minute compared to what's coming and what's happened since then.
And I heard a pop, like a loud pop. and I'd look, and she was laying, there was like 2 mattresses pushed together on the bed, and there was like a crease, and there was a blood going all the way down the crease, but you couldn't see any blood on her. So I like tilted her head up, and I was just trying to see, you know, I was just trying to look at her. I was like, Colleen, Colleen, because she was still breathing.
A girl named Lori called here at midnight, our time, and was crying on the phone and asked if we knew about Colleen, and we didn't. And then she said that she was in L.A., but Brenda had called her and told her that Colleen shot herself. And she just was wondering if I knew, and I didn't hear from anybody.
At the hospital, machines kept Colleen alive for 24 hours. Her mother and friends were there.
And I had this ring that was a little heart with some diamonds on it. I wore it on my wedding finger. And I asked Colleen's mom if I could give it to her. And she's like, are you sure? You know, I gave it to her. You know, I was afraid to even touch her. I was like reaching and I asked, you know, can I touch her? You know, she just looks so frail and everything. It just was so different to see someone with a bullet through their head. You can imagine. And so I took it up my wedding finger, and it wouldn't even fit on hers. Her body was being kept alive by machines, and circulation, when it goes, your body swells up. And I just knew that she wasn't there. It wasn't her. It wasn't Colleen.
Her eyes were donated. I got 2 different letters about her eyes. And her kidneys were supposed to be, but I never heard from them. So I don't know if it worked or didn't work. I never heard back. But that's what I signed for them to take.
Colleen Applegate went to California in March 1982. She died there in March 1984. She went in search of something, not knowing what, and with only her beauty to offer in return. And she got lost. She left home incomplete, unequipped for the adventure she'd have, lacking an inner compass. Like Dorothy from Kansas, Colleen found herself in a dangerous forest, but there was no scarecrow along to help her find the way out.
Maybe adults learn too much. Maybe we should all go back to being kids. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be a kid and keep the honesty? Be totally ignorant to hate and loneliness and disgust.
A final thought. The story of Colleen's life is singular, unique, unlike any other. But it's also part of a larger, more troubling story. Each year, the number of young people in trouble seems to be increasing. Some run away. Some get in trouble with the law. Some, like Colleen, attempt suicide. Last year, an estimated 400,000 attempted suicide. 6,000 succeeded. Is all this a way of telling us that we need to pay more attention to our young people? Thank you for joining us. I'm Judy Woodruff. Good night.
Coming up on Frontline, the prayer, pride, and power of the black church.
The church is what we have had all the time, all the way back to slavery.
Young, successful blacks are returning to their church in record numbers, seeking the racial, political, and spiritual core of life in black America. Watch Keeping the Faith next time on Frontline.
a transcript of this program, please send $4 to Frontline, Box 322, Boston, Massachusetts, 02134. Frontline is produced for the Documentary Consortium by WGBH, Boston, which is solely responsible for its content. Funding for Frontline was provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Schools, colleges, and other organizations interested in purchasing or renting video cassettes of this program may call 800-424-7963 or write PBS Video, Post Office Box 8092, Washington, D.C. 20024.